Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, the vodcast that features discussions on the topics of film, science and technology. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined on this, glorious Saturday afternoon with Steve Kern to record 2 episodes because we felt like doing something different this week. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, thanks, Ben. Hello, FiST Chat fans. It's good to be here. It was a lovely autumn day here in Adelaide, but it's suddenly turned quite cloudy and ominous.
Oh, well, I guess variety is the spice of life then, huh? All right, so before we get into that, don't forget our website, www.fistchat.com. You can get all our links there. We've got multiple channels you can subscribe to. There's iTunes, RSS, FeedBurner Audio, video on YouTube, Vimeo, and Digicosm TV. And, of course, our social media feeds on Twitter, Google+, and Facebook. So I'd love to hear from you. Interact with us there. We've got our ebook on Amazon, fistreport.com. Check it out there. Only 99 cents and a great little read, and it'll help support us too, so much appreciated. And of course, we've got our supplementary content, the weekly blogs, photography on Instagram and Flickr. And if you would be so kind, recommend us to anyone who may be interested in our weekly ramblings on film, science and technology. And just wanted to point out, this will be our first experiment recording FiST Chat on FaceTime, since we've been skipping a couple of different technologies, so it's going well so far, but we'll let you know how it goes by the end of the episode.
That's right. After our Skype and Google Hangouts, had to try FaceTime.
Absolutely. Now, as we alluded to, we're going to be recording 2 episodes today. This is obviously the first one, and it's sort of following on from our last episode where we were talking about how social media is affecting the news. Perhaps we'll start off with the poll that we ran from last week. Is news reporting via social media bad for traditional news and journalism? 64% said yes, 36% said no. I'm of the opinion that it can be bad because it's sort of detracting from that collating and filtering process that goes on in the newsroom. What do you think, Steve, about that?
I'm a bit like you. I think it does have its dangers, of course, but the flip side is that it's instant, it's unfiltered, and if you accept what it is or its shortcomings and you don't believe everything you hear just because it's been tweeted or somebody stuck a photograph up that may or may not be, a hoaxer, as long as you're prepared to wait until you get all the evidence, but be alert, I guess, to what's happening out there, it's good.
Yeah.
It's when people buy it hook, line and sinker that it's bad.
Well, speaking of that, we've got our main topic today, and you'd almost think it was a joke just by reading it. Market chaos after fake Obama explosion tweet. ABC reported this. Hackers took control of the Associated Press Twitter account and sent a false tweet about 2 explosions at the White House that briefly sent US financial markets reeling. It reported that 2 explosions at the White House injured President Obama. The AP spokesman quickly confirmed the tweet was bogus, but within 3 minutes of the tweet hitting the web, virtually all US markets took a plunge on the false news in what one trader described as pure chaos. White House spokesman Jay Carney told reporters that Mr. Obama was fine soon after the tweet went out, a little after 1 p.m. local time. Now, we'll deal with the hacking bit in a minute, but the fact that they could send out a tweet and within 3 minutes cause a certain amount of damage kind of indicates the potential problem with social media, and the fact that because it's all on the net and cloud-based and they're account-based, you could just imagine that this sort of thing could happen again with something a bit more serious, perhaps.
Well, yeah, but look, I don't know where you start with something like this. The other thing that isn't too widely said is that the 150-point plunge actually occurred in less than 2 minutes.
Mm.
So nobody bothered to check. And because of the speed of trading and the fact that most of the trading today is automated, thanks to our technological age, as soon as stocks start to plunge, it sets a cascade of other triggers, and there's more and more sell orders, more and more sell orders. So in 2 minutes, the fact that you can shed probably about 1% of the US market goes to tell you that how secure is that market anyway? And I say that because in Australia earlier on this year, somebody who just printed themselves a press release on behalf of a bank stating that they were pulling out of a resource, a loan for a resource company, caused that company's shares to halve. And that wasn't even high tech. So, I mean, our high tech finance friends maybe ought to have a long, hard look at themselves.
Well, this kind of points to a problem on both ends, doesn't it? Obviously, there's the social media side and the potential to be hacked. Then there's the automation on the finance market side, that it can be done so quickly. It almost needs that human element in there to kind of, step in almost. Maybe like it was done in the good old days.
And apparently in some of the trading houses, the senior, more cool heads actually stopped anyone from pressing their buttons. And I guess the other thing we have to concede, so let's not, maybe I was a bit unfair there on our people in finance before, but, it came from apparently a trusted source that we now know had been hacked. But it still says a lot that, there seems to be this need that you would act that quickly to sell, and that's purely a profit motive, because there's no way that just because something like that would have happened that necessarily a whole lot of stocks are going to lose their value.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's purely a quick financial gain.
Well, what about looking at it beyond the? Well, I guess two things. How could someone could use this to manipulate a market? If they hack it in just the right way and send out the exact right bogus tweet or post or whatever that they want to use, just as happened in this instance. Or what about even broader, beyond a financial market, announcing something that is bogus, that could affect society in some way?
Like Wells's War of the Worlds on radio?
Well, I guess that happened, how long ago was it? About 80 or 90 years ago?
Yeah. Look, I guess the point is that people, will always... I guess if they trust the source, they'll always react. And this is what we've seen. So the press release, War of the Worlds, and even what we've seen here with Twitter is people trusting a source and being fooled. Twitter would only have to be hacked a few more times like this to the point where people probably wouldn't trust it anymore. So, I mean, very interesting and what implications it probably means for social media down the track, because all it takes is a few people to be stung, and like you say, not just in the financial world, but more generally. And people will lose their trust in Twitter, social media. I mean, how many people have been stung by false tweeters in the early days when people, took names just like somebody else's name? Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. It's an evolving field, but the fact that people can hack Twitter accounts are used for mass dissemination of important media, it's got big implications.
But I guess finally too, just to round it out, news in particular has a set of, I guess they're set to a set of regulations. There is a certain standard that they have to abide by that has been put in place, so that the fair reporting of accurate news is done, to make sure that those checks and balances are all in there, which doesn't apply to social media. And because the social media sort of networks are an extension of the internet, which is unregulated, you would find it hard pressed to see any which way that a social media platform would be regulated in the same way. Because it's so decentralized, how would you go about doing it? And you really have to rely on all of the end users to use it responsibly.
I completely agree with you, but I still don't know why no one's ever created certified social media. I mean, a bit like LinkedIn, although that can be infiltrated. But, why don't they have a Twitter for financial houses, and it costs $10,000 a year to be a member?
Oh well.
I guess that wouldn't stop hackers getting in there and still causing their mischief. But it goes to show, and we've said it before, that there are huge risks out there, and these are only just the small signs of what might happen.
Absolutely. All right, we might move on now onto our news bites, changing pace. Now, our film news bite is, well, it's not really a news bite. It's more of, came across this website called lavideofilmmaker.com, and he had an article on there, How to Become a Film Director, a Sharp Reality Check. Now, it's actually quite extensive, and you can go check it out for yourselves. But essentially, I kind of got the impression that he was kind of cutting out the crap, so to speak. It basically just comes down. All he was basically saying was that it comes down to you're real. If it's, which is basically a collection of your work. If you don't have one, you're not a director. Nobody's going to give you any work. Simple as that. Of course, the reel has to be good as well, I'm assuming. But, I mean, there's a bit more to it than that. But, I mean, in today's day and age, really, you can pick up a camera and be a film director. So, and as that he quoted James Cameron there to say that if that's what you need to be a film director, the rest is just negotiating your deal.
Well, that's true. I mean, there are a lot of film directors out there who've never done anything else or anything more than just drink cappuccino and talk about making film. So
we've known it. We've certainly known a few of those over the years.
We certainly have. So, but this is good. I mean, it's a good read. I found it fairly sharp actually, but to the point, and that's really what I like.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's so much spoken about in terms of people wanting to enter the dream factory and what's required, and it can be, being told just pick up a camera and start shooting something sounds too simple for something that seemingly from the outside would seem like to be a very complicated endeavor. And one of the other things that I thought was interesting was his take on networking. Which I think flies against a lot of the traditional kind of wisdom out there, which basically just is saying that, you're saying go out there and network with people that, will help you make your projects. But if you're talking about kissing ass, that's probably not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, it's interesting that. It's interesting. I think it's a case-by-case basis. Oh. I don't think, it's a simple thing, but there's certainly people that, you've got to say yes to whatever they ask if you want to get ahead.
Absolutely. All right, we'll move on to our science news bite now. Comet could blast Earth with weird meteor shower from Discovery News. Another nice little outer space story. Small but incredibly bright comet heading towards the sun could do more than dazzle Earth's skies when it arrives later this year. Scientists say Comet Ison, already shedding dust at the prodigious rate of about 112,000 pounds per minute, could spark an unusual meteor shower. They've done some computer simulations that predict the location and movement of the comet's dust trail, and it shows Earth will be passing through the fine grain stream around January 12, 2014. It's always important when we see events in the sky like this. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a couple of guys from the Astronomers Club that hang around South Bank here, pointing their big telescopes up at the sky on clear nights, and obviously, charging for each look. But they'll show you a planet or something else that might be in the night sky. And I think this sort of story just highlights our fascination with what's happening out there, and also just how interesting it is up there with everything that's out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the sort of event that may well, some scientists theorise this might have been how life on Earth was seeded, a bit like the start of Prometheus kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we don't know what started life on Earth, but we have found these sorts of chemicals, obviously, all the way through the universe. And to think that another body that moves independently of the Earth throughout our solar system, is going to come past and actually swap some of its substance with us. I mean, that's a big thing. I don't think we as humans really appreciate what that means in terms, astronomical terms.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and finally, our tech news bite. Poor old Windows 8. The next minor update to it is apparently going to bring back the start button, because people were up in arms when it disappeared on the original release of Windows 8. So this story from CNET. Rumors have floated recently that Microsoft may revive the familiar start button in the Windows 8.1 update scheduled for release later this year. A new report claims that sources familiar with Microsoft plans have confirmed the return of the start button, but the new start button will apparently not trigger a start menu. It will just bring you back to the start screen that was introduced with Windows 8. So this is really not bringing about anything incredibly technical. It's just making people feel better that something familiar is coming back.
Yeah, I don't know what all this negative hype over Windows 8 is. I mean, Microsoft have been getting a caning because apparently Windows 8 isn't making people buy PCs anymore. So is that really Windows 8's fault? Or is it the fact you can't carry your desktop around with you everywhere you go?
Or the appeal of tablet devices as well that's been exploding in the last few years.
Exactly. I mean, Windows 8 is sufficiently different to all the other operating systems to make it a black sheep. And I can understand, if there were any people that actually really did love the old Windows look and feel, you'd be pretty cut by Windows 8. But as a piece of software, and certainly for its Surface tablets, I reckon Windows 8 is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is just a case of they've got a massive install base, and most of them, whether they're business or regular users, are used to everything staying the same all the time. And this, I think, was just too radical a shift for them to handle. And if it means bringing back something that is familiar to people, I guess Microsoft will do it. I guess to ensure that their market continues.
And I'll just say this, because we'll probably touch on this more in our next episode on Apple, but, Windows 7 was so good. Could you really improve it? No. Especially if you'd suffered every other version of Windows for the last 20 years before that.
Absolutely. And it's probably it was probably a good stepping off point too for them to go into the mobile operating system environment with Windows. They probably reached the limit of what the desktop Windows could do. And if they didn't do this, they'd probably be left behind right now.
Exactly. And interestingly, though, Apple could have done something similar, but they've tried to stick with the traditional operating system, and we've spoken about that as well when Lion first came out. So it's very interesting times. I mean, I imagine that probably the next round of Windows 8 will morph it back towards, away from the Metro, back towards what we know and love.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Steve, we might wrap this episode up. So thanks again for the chat and going through all of that.
Anytime, tweet us, just FiST Chat fans, but, tweet the truth. Don't make anything up.
Absolutely. We don't want any reports of bombs going off or anything like that. All right, so that's it for this episode, so we'll catch you for the next one.